On October 24th, 2024, I released 3 episodes to launch the Reluctantly podcast. The first was with David Gogo, then Mike Plume, and Clayton Bellamy. He was the one of the, 33% of the launch of the podcast, and Clayton joins me again today. This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by Timber-Built Homes. Timberbuilthomes.ca, where you can find out all you need to know about a home in a box. Also thanks to Concept Clothing and Culture, CONXEPPT.com. Men's and women's fashion, handmade, custom to you. And a big thanks to my real estate agent, Wendy Campbell. Wendy, WENDE, at blackmorerealestate.ca.
How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. First of all, I want to know about your guitars on your wall. You got 5 guitars hanging on there, and I know you've got way more than 5 guitars, but why are those ones special to be on your wall?
Well, it's just trying to get them out of the way. The acoustics take up a lot more room, but I've got a couple of those. What you see behind you there is turned just a little bit. That's a jumbo 12 string right there, Gibson, that was given to me by my old music business teacher in college, Keith Mann, who tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident. His wife gave me that guitar, and I've played it on pretty much every record I've recorded ever since then. And then the other two are Guild acoustics. One is a 68 and the other is a 71 Guild. That one actually that you see right there was my old music teacher from grade 4. I was in a choir called the Minstrels, and it was like a junior high choir, and I was the only elementary kid allowed in it, which was a pretty big deal back then. We got to wear like red bow ties and red suspenders. It's pretty hot. Ladies, please, one at a time.
Stand back, but, he's taken.
Yeah. So great story though. This one, for years, I was always telling her, Rosemary, if you ever want to sell this guitar, please call me. And of course she never did. And because it's a beautiful guitar. And I had, this was a few years ago, I had my Yamaha acoustics completely smashed by the airline, by WestJet. They just flattened my acoustic, and they gave me a check for $800.
Oh, wow.
And which, what am I going to buy? You could buy an all right guitar, but as a professional, $800 is not going to go a long way for a really great acoustic guitar. And I'd opened the check from WestJet, and I was holding it in my hand. I was drinking my coffee, complaining to the universe, like, man, what am I going to buy for $800? And then the phone rings, and it's Rosemary. And hey, Rose, how are you? And she says, Clayton, I always remembered that you said if I ever want to sell this acoustic guitar to call you first. So here I am. I'm calling you. I'm not playing it. It's just sitting under my bed. Do you want to buy it? And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. I need a guitar. So absolutely. How much would you like for it? She goes, I don't know. How's $800? And I'm holding the check in one hand and the phone in the other. It's like the sky opened up and the lights shut down. So I bought that acoustic guitar for $800, and I've been playing it ever since. So it's one of my favorite guitars.
And the
Rickenbacker. Well, as you know, I've been doing this legendary Life of Tom Petty for a number of years now, and you can't really get away with doing Tom Petty music without a Rickenbacker 12 string. It adds so much to the sonic palette of what they do, because Tom was so influenced by the Byrds, and the Byrds, it was all those electric 12 strings. So I went into Long and McQuaid one day, and that guitar was hanging on the rack. I picked it up and played it, plugged it in, and immediately was like, I need to have this. So, but they're not a real cheap guitar. I think it was $2,800 to buy it brand new. So I went up to the to the till, and I was kind of haggling with the guy, and they came down a couple $100, and then just lo and behold, he pulls up on the computer, he goes, "You have $1,000 credit here at Long and McQuaid." I'm like, "Really? I don't recall that, but I'll take it." So I got a good.
Again, the angels sing.
It was meant to be. I was meant to have that guitar. So I took it, ran. I was like that guy in the Walmart commercial going, "Start the car,
Oh,
start
the
the car."
IKEA, yeah. And is that a Gretsch?
That's a Rickenbacker. Yeah. So
No,
I
the
do.
white one.
Oh,
The white one. Is that a
yes,
Gretsch?
that is definitely a Gretsch. That's a Gretsch White Falcon. The one again, another one of my favorite. I was uh always wanting a Gretsch guitar. The band The Cult was one of my favorite rock and roll bands, and the guitar player Billy Duffy plays a White Falcon through a Marshall. And when I was a kid, I was just like fell in love with that image of him with that White Falcon slung low playing Wildflower and all of those riffs from that era. And so when they came out with this players edition White Falcon, I found one in New York. Again, it was like somebody had bought it and brought it back like a few months later. So they had it for half off, and I grabbed it. I didn't hesitate. So that's the guitars are stacking up around my ears, but they've all got great stories. And every time I pick one up, I wonder, is there a song in this? There's got to be a song in this guitar. So that's kind of what I like to discover when I bring something new home is if there's a good song in one.
And then I think I saw caught the glimpse of a telly there too.
There's an American Standard telly that I have. Boom, and that was a good friend of mine, Chris Ellis, who was the president of Triumph Motorcycles in Canada. I rode for Triumph for years, and we played in a cover band together for a little while, and I inherited that from him. He was a dear friend of mine who passed away, and a lot of the guitars now that I've held on to all have stories like that. They were either gifted to me. I inherited them from a friend or a loved one, or I found them, by happenstance. The rest of them kind of they come and go. I've got a '72 Les Paul that Gordy Johnson got for me in Austin, Texas years ago, and that's another one that I'll never let go of. They're my mainstays, and the rest of them, some I'll find a guitar here and play it for a while, and then sell it or pass it on to somebody else, trade it. But those ones are the ones that'll never leave the house.
What's that last one there? Is that the one that's got the odd shape? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember the one beside the telly. Is that?
That's a Firebird. That's a
Oh,
Gibson
okay.
Firebird.
Yeah.
We had an endorsement with Gibson Epiphone for years when we were living in Nashville, and they gave us a bunch of those guitars, and a lot of them we kind of try and then give back, but that one had a real certain mojo, and I put some Billy Gibbons. Billy Bow pickups in it, and it really it sings. I like the Gretsch jangle, that sound, and that has Gretsch pickups in it. Those Billy Bow pickups are Gretsch, and it just they're very. I find they're very musical. I like the chiminess of those pickups. They're not real dark. They cut through the noise a lot.
Isn't it funny how you mentioned it like 2-3 minutes ago? How guitars have stories. I could listen to guitar stories for days. It's just that you're right. Every guitar seems to have a story. Even I have a 1974 Fender classical acoustic that's got Brazilian rosewood on the sides, and my dad got that back in the day in the early 70s, 74, 75 or whatever, from a guy that he built a deck for on the back of his house. The guy couldn't pay him with cash, so
That's
part of the
awesome.
payment ended up being this 1974 classical guitar. And I've still got it. It still sounds beautiful. It's the most amazing thing. guitars and stories. You can't separate the two.
No,
It's unbelievable.
they go hand in hand, and I think part of it too is, they're it's made from a living thing. I really like guitars hold memories, and I think that they that there's especially old ones, there's just a certain thing that, because whoever owns them is putting their literal blood, sweat, and tears into that, learning to play that instrument. And I think that gets passed on, and certain ones have, real, they're haunted, and I love that about old instruments. And I'm, like you said, I want to find the story, even if I don't know what the story is. I want to find it. When I find one that I love, that you pick up and it just sings, I think that's what I always think to myself, that there's got to be a good song in there, and a lot of times there is.
It's funny too how you mentioned a few of the guitars that you have were either inherited or somehow you came upon them because of someone who was in your life that you lost. And I also have a guitar like that too. And it's, of course, we all know Wayne Alchin, Edmonton
Yeah.
musician, who we lost earlier this year after a lifelong battle with many health issues. His father, Chris, passed away years before from cancer. And Chris had a Dobro, which is a resonator guitar. A lot of Hawaiian music is done, if you don't know, a lot of Hawaiian music is done on resonators. But old blues, Robert
Yeah.
Johnson style stuff and that kind of thing. But Chris Alchin had this Dobro, and it's a steel-bodied guitar. And obviously, when Chris passed away, it became Wayne's. And I don't know how it happened, but the headstock got snapped off. And Wayne was going through a time where he didn't have a ton of cash, so we were talking about it. And I loved the sound of a Dobro. I loved the sound of a resonator guitar. And Wayne was telling me about it. He was sitting in my garage. It was at the same time when he was playing with Mac Long, my son Riley, and his buddy Tate Tweetin, and they were the Chicken Heads. And Wayne was telling me about this guitar and how it was broken, and he wished he could have it working again. So I told him to bring it over. He left it with me. I took it over to Byron Myers at Myers Music and had them fix the headstock and then gave it back to Wayne. And then when Wayne passed away earlier this year, I found out through Greg Cymbalak that the guitar was earmarked for me. And
Oh man, that's awesome.
I just took it in at the end of July to Myers Music again because the pickup from inside had come apart from inside the body of the guitar. So I took it in and gave it to Myers Music, and they fixed it up for me, new strings and everything like that. And I just picked it up day before yesterday, or I guess Friday, and it's all back and up to snuff and working again. And it's got the check marks and the little cracks in the finish, and I don't know exactly what year it is. I've still got a lot of research to do on the guitar, but it means the world to me that Wayne left that to me, and it belonged to Chris. And there's such great stories behind that. So your guitar stories just triggered that in my head, and I'm sure anybody who is a musician, who is a guitar player, has, whether it's a brand new guitar or old ones. Everybody's got guitar stories. Even my Telly and my Strat are 2004, so it's a 50th anniversary Strat,
Yeah.
and then the Telly I've got is also 2004. They're matching tobacco burst. The difference between you and me, Clayton, though, is you can get another guitar and add it to your collection, or maybe even put a few more holes in the wall and hang it there. If I get another guitar, my wife is looking at me sideways like, what the fuck are you doing with another guitar?
Well, I'll tell you, I got one more guitar story that I'll tell you. But when I used to work at Kiss and FM doing the drive home show,
Yeah.
Zach Brown was coming into town, and we were putting on the show. We were the host station, and this guy came into the station, and he said, he was looking to talk to me because he wanted to reach Zach Brown because he knew he collected guitars, and he had a guitar that he wanted to sell. And I'm kind of, my ears perked up. I'm like, well, I don't know how to get as old as Zach, but I like guitars. And he said, well, come to my house after. He was there with his wife at the front desk. He said, come to my house after. Here's the address, and I'll show you the guitars. So I thought, well, this could be a really great adventure, or maybe this guy's going to skin me and wear me around his apartment. I don't know. But I'm like, I'm taking a chance. You never know. Maybe he might turn me into a lampshade. I don't know. But so I show up at this guy's random house, him and his wife, and he pours me a whiskey. And he begins to tell me about how his dad used to play in all these kind of country bluegrass bands when he was a kid. And when he passed away, and these guitars have been sitting under his bed for years. So he pulls out the same thing, an old steel Dobro, which he didn't want to get rid of, but he just wanted to show me. And just like you said, he wanted to tell these stories as they needed to be told for him. So he told me the story of this old Dobro and how he used to watch his dad play it. And he rolls out this old giant tweed case, and it's a 1955 triple neck lap steel guitar. Yeah, made by I got it's a National. It's a National.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
and I'm just looking at this thing like, I've never seen anything like this. It's crazy. And he sets it all up and plugs it in, and he's kind of making noise on it, and he doesn't really know how to play it. Neither did I. But uh, he packs it all up and he goes, you know what? I want you to have this. He says, just take it. I want somebody to play it. So I'm just was kind of flabbergasted, and he packed it all up and he handed it to me, and I'm walking across the lawn, and him and his wife are waving, and I kind of got a little choked up halfway across the grass, and I went back and knocked on the door again, and he opened the door. I said, I just want you to know that, I'll never sell this guitar. So if you ever want it back, just call me. So I've never heard from him, but I ended up taking it on the last Roadhammer tour, the Wheels Fall Off tour, and played some. For the first time ever in my life, I learned some songs on the lap steel and played with Doc Walker was sitting in with us, and I played some lap steel, which was really so much fun. And then full circle moment. Gordy Johnson was here playing a show in Bonnyville at our theater, and the next day him and his whole band and his wife, they all came for coffee, and he saw that thing, and I ended up getting an hour lesson from Gordy. He just sat down and plugged it in and was tuning the thing and showing me how to play, because he's a wizard on the steel guitar. It was unreal. So it was a lot of fun. Great stories.
And the tour that you were doing with Doc Walker that came through the River Cree Resort and Casino, I was there for that.
Yeah, you guys came backstage. It was awesome, and you saw then that was the first night. That's right, that I ever played the steel guitar or the lap steel on stage. I was nervous.
Well, I could tell you were, but that's the thing. It's you never know until you step off the curb.
That's it, and after every, obviously every subsequent show, it got a little easier, and it was a lot of fun. I love picking it up. Gordy actually gave me a smaller version of that triple neck, just a actual lap steel, so I could fit it in my backpack and take it now when we play other shows, and they're fun.
I'm later this week, I'm going to set up another chat with Mike Plume. Mention him off the top of the show, one of the first 3 episodes for the Reluctantly podcast. And I just remember some stories just randomly told at just random places about guitar stories and things that had to do with Mike, and how it's gotten in. Even the lyrics from his song has gotten me into a few tight spaces and gotten me out of a few, I think is how that song goes, is it not?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. He's not wrong. I knocked a guy out once in a lobby of a hotel bar with my Telecaster, because he was just we were playing back in the day 6 nights a week in this little club called Viva's in Prince George, BC. And I remember coming off the stage, and this guy was mad at me because he said I was talking to his girlfriend, or can't remember what the context was, but he wanted to fight. And I'm standing in the lobby waiting for the elevator, and I've got a guitar in each hand, and he's got his fists up, and he's looking like he's ready to smack me right in the mouth. So I just kind of I heard the elevator door ding, and he came at me, and I swung that Telecaster right from my hip and clocked him right in the temple, and he went down like a sack of hammers, and I just stepped onto the elevator, and the doors closed, and up I went to the hotel, and never to be seen again. This it saved my neck for sure.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, the 6 nights a week, man. A lot of that doesn't really exist anymore. I talk to younger artists kind of coming up and tell them that, and they can't seem to wrap their head around. Like we would play, Monday to Saturday from 9 p.m. till 2 a.m. every night. We play 4 45-minute sets, sometimes 5 45-minute sets, and then you'd pack up on Sunday and roll to the next town and set up and do it again. We were just like a bunch of carnies for I did that for nearly a decade before I got my audition for the Roadhammers.
That's even funny. I was talking to Dahlia Wakefield on last week's episode about just the same thing, doing 6 nights a week. And I'm not sure if you know Trevor Tetzlaff.
Yes.
Okay, so Trevor he tells stories. I love going over to his place, visiting him, and we talk about, the band days when he had hair down to the crack of his ass, and talked about how he never had a home address for 5 years. He would just sleep on random people's couches in between going from gig to gig all over Western Canada and stuff.
Yeah, it was wild. And I think about it now, I guess maybe more as a dad with my kids. They're starting to, my son's, he's 21. He's living on his own, and my daughter's 16, going on 17. And, I was 17, 18 years old, traveling around in a van with a bunch of strange dudes all over North America. We would go as far as Toronto and then down into Wisconsin, all the way down as far as Austin, Texas, and back up to Vancouver and all over the place. And that was before when I started, it was before cell phones, and it was before, my poor parents, they didn't know where I was half the time or what was going on. And we were, staying, sometimes we'd get a hotel. Most of the time it would be at what they called a band house, which was just somebody's rental apartment or something. And, I remember a lot of times it'd just be mattresses thrown on the floor, and you would, and some prison pillows, and you'd flop there and you would sleep, and we'd bring our coolers with us, and we'd set up and just like eating rice and beans all week long, and playing country rock and roll. And that's how we cut our teeth and learned how to front a band, and learned how to get an audience entertained when they don't want to be. When there's only 10 people in a bar on a Tuesday night, and they could give a rat's ass of whether you're playing music or not. And you really had to hone your skills that way.
The way you painted that story is with the mattresses on the floor and the band house with the prison pillows and rice and beans. I can smell it from here.
Oh, dude, it was not a pretty sight sometimes. I remember we played this one place. It might have been in Edmonton at this club called the Wild West, and there was no shower. There was just a tub, and you had to stick a rag in the tub drain to fill it up, to clean yourself. And there was one light bulb. We remember the first night we were moving the light bulb around room to room so that we could see what we were doing, until the next day when we had to go out and buy light bulbs for the band house. It was brutal. but yeah, we had some adventures, but I wouldn't trade any of those times, because they turn out to be, those formidable years were some of the best memories I got.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you how excited I am to welcome a new partner on the Reluctantly podcast. It's Timber Built Homes. Their focus is timber homes and cottages, year-round living, recreational dwellings, and beyond that, pavilions, barns, and freestanding timber-built offices. Complete information is available at timberbuilthomes.ca, and it's also where you'll learn about Timberbuilt's Home in a Box. It's fantastic. An entire home package shipped in a sea can anywhere in the world, right to your build site. See the floor plans, sample builds, photo gallery, and most important, the prices right on their website, timberbuilthomes.ca. And please let them know that you heard about them on the Reluctantly podcast. 2 years ago, well, coming up on 2 years when we last talked like this. I mean, we talk pretty regularly, really. But 2 years ago when we last talked on the podcast, you were, everything was kind of in motion. The congregation, the Tom Petty, the legendary Life of Tom Petty thing was starting up. The foundation was, getting close and really starting to see some really cool results. And over the last 2 years, there has been so much happening, and it's like you have not stopped. Have you ever taken a rest? Like you just told about band houses and touring around all over the place, but you've been 90 miles an hour of nonstop go ever since you got into this business. Over the last 2 years, have you had a chance to rest?
Not a whole lot. I got a great gal who makes sure that I take time to get a breather here and there. But all of those things have really ramped up exponentially since we last chatted. The the congregation I've kind of set aside for right now because other projects have been coming out. We put out a new Roadhammers record in the past year, uh, and put out. I just finished recording a brand new solo record that's coming out August 28th with the Brothers Landreth producer Murray Pulver, and it was mixed by Jay Took, who is famously from the band The Steel Woods. So I did my first kind of real stripped down, heartfelt roots record, and then of course the foundation. Thanks to you, coming out every year, we've raised $2.5 million in the last 5 years, and we've built a brand new state of the art theater that's now open. We've got a wonderful theater manager who's taken the reins and running it down the field. And so we've had, Mike Plume has performed there. Big Sugar's been there. I Mother Earth, like some of the world class musicians have already played at the theater, and couldn't be prouder of what the community's done and what people like you, Terry, coming out every year and supporting it. Our gala and golf that's brought this thing to fruition, to that dream, and now we've myself and Jason McCoy and Dan Davidson and our friend Craig Stanek just launched Sky Song Records in the last year, which is that's what we released all of this music on, and we're signing artists, and so it's a lot of plates spinning all the time. But I don't think I've ever been more excited to be in the music business.
Well, in the music business and all of the other business that you got your mitts in as well. You mentioned the foundation and the Performing Arts Center and the Gala and Golf, which is happening September 4th and 5th. And yeah, I'm super excited to be invited again. So thank you very much for that. It's going to be so much fun. And there's a hell of a lineup that you've got rigged up for for the 2026 Gala and Golf too.
Yeah, I think this is the best lineup we've got yet. We've got some NHL stars. We've got some of the cast of Shoresy are going to be there. Terry Ryan and or his crew. We've got Chad Brownlee, Darby Mills from the Headpins is going to be there. Morgan Kleiber, Dan Davidson's going to be performing again. Of course, you're going to be there. And we've got Jackie Ray Greening from CFCW is going to be there. Gizmo Williams. We've got tons of celebrities in sports and music that are going to perform. Irvin Miller, who we just signed to Sky Song Records, is going to be there performing. And then, of course, after all of the hoopla of the gala, we go out and golf the hangover away, or just keep the party going. I'm not sure what happens, but the next day, and we've got this $1 million hole in one, and we were talking before we started it. You've come the closest. You and Theo Fleury came the closest to winning the $1 million, and I think this year you got to take it home. Somebody's got to win that $1 million hole in one.
Well, my ticket's got to be drawn to be one of the participants again, but I've been lucky 2 years in a row I got to shoot. The thing was, I was doing it with my hickory clubs, and that's last year I didn't get the hole in one, but I got closest to the pin. And
Which is incredible that you got those old vintage clubs, and I love your outfit. It's like all vintage, the whole thing, even with the hat with the little pom pom on the top.
yeah. That's going to be super fun. And of course, Danny Hooper is back to host an MC. It's always fun to hang out with Danny and shake his hand. Danny Hooper's got no fingerprints, right? Never worked a day in his life.
Right. He's living large now in Bali.
Belize.
Is that Belize? That's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's great.
You talked about one of the featured performers, guests that you're going to have at the Golf and Gala this year, Dan Davidson. Dan Davidson, you co-wrote the song "I Miss Tom Petty." So it was you, Dan Davidson, and Tim Hicks also co-write.
Yes. Yeah.
Tim's already released this song, if I'm not mistaken.
He did. About 2 years ago, Tim released "I Miss Tom Petty." But I just was so in love with that song, and I started playing it every night. It's the only original song I do in the Legendary Life of Tom Petty show, and we were getting night after night after night. We're getting encore after standing ovation after standing ovation for that song, and I just thought, man, I've got to record this song and make it my own. So we did a version, and it's going to be the first single on the new record's called "Soft Kind of Loud." It's the first album I've made with kind of a batch of heartfelt, like, love songs and heartbreak songs that a lot of times I've made my living, I guess, writing up-tempo country rock songs or southern rock songs. And this I collect all of these, I write these kind of emotional songs, and they don't really ever seem to find a home. And I really just wanted to do something that was just reflective of those emotions, and do something that was entirely different. And I think playing those Tom Petty songs night after night was really inspiring me, just to kind of strip off all of the kind of the loud rock and roll guitars and just get right down to the root of telling a great story. And this is the first song coming out next week.
You talked about having a great girl that keeps your mind thinking of rest and stuff. Obviously, you're talking about Stacy. Is Stacy also some inspiration for some of this material that is coming out here on the 28th?
Absolutely. Yeah. I wanted to put a song on there called "Lift Up Your Shirt," but she wouldn't let me. Oh, I'm going to hear about that one. No, she actually is singing all over the record. She's got an incredible voice. We dated for over a year before I even knew that she sang. I would just be hearing her sing around the house, and we were hanging out, and I kept saying, like, I kept questioning her, and she would kind of put it off until finally I got it out of her that she used to sing in different bands and things like this, and which led to us singing together on stage, and now doing this album. So she sings on "I Miss Tom Petty." She does the harmonies, and but there was several songs inspired by her. A song that I actually wrote all by myself called "Forever's Just a Lie," which is, I think, my favorite song on the record. And it had been a long time since I've written a song completely on my own. I got into this. I get into this rhythm of co-writing songs with people, and you get a good idea, and you kind of what I do is I just earmark it and set it aside for, hey, I'm going to write that one with this artist, and oh, this is a great idea for this artist that I'm writing with next week. So you get into this rhythm of just not really finishing the song on your own. And when that idea came to me, it was kind of a sky song. It just kind of I was driving, and it was just kind of coming out of me as I wasn't writing the song. I was just putting it down. We'll say.
You sent me was it 6 songs? And I thought, well, maybe it's an EP, but is it a full album that and you only sent me half of it or something like that? What
I
did
sent the only one I didn't send you was "Forever's Just a Lie." It wasn't on that. It wasn't mixed yet, but now I have the final mix. But there'll be 7 songs, which nowadays I think qualifies as an album. But
uh, and what you sent me, are those completely produced, like they're finished, the finished?
they're all finished. You bet.
Okay. So I want to roll through them here because you sent it to me, and every once in a while back in the day, I would get new music sent to me from various bands, whether I knew it. Everybody from I don't know if you remember the band Pretty Rough, to
Oh yeah.
Kick Axe, to Helix, to like I mean, I would get music sent to me from all kinds of these bands, Cry of Love, and and they would send me music. And Mike Plume was always in that category. He would send me something that he was working on or something he had just finished. So when you sent me those 6 songs, I was so excited. I literally dropped everything that I was doing and listened to them immediately, right from start to finish, right all 6 songs. And
Thank you so much.
you probably think I didn't listen to the whole thing because I texted you back right quick too, right?
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean, everybody's busy. I just wanted you to hear it. I wanted to sneak this out to my friends and let them have a little taste.
So I want to roll through, and I do love him. And I miss Tom Petty, the co-write with Dan and Tim, which is just a terrific song, and the sentiment behind it. Because I think everybody misses Tom Petty. I remember when we found out that Tom Petty died, I broke down. We found out that morning. I was on doing my show at that time, and I broke down, and I just said, "Man, when is this going to stop?" And it's not going to stop. All of the people that you and I grew up with, all of the people that we know in the music industry, we are losing them too quickly. And it's
Yeah.
because of the age they were and the greatest music in the world that they made at the time, right? So that really hit home. And that song just, so like I just melt into it, or it melts into me. I'm not sure which, but it just, it envelops me, I think is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I love that one. The Easy to Love. And you talk about this being a kind of an emotional, not outpouring, but an emotional effort and creation. And I think there's just enough of a little bit of an edge so that it doesn't sound like, I mean, I swear to God, we turned on the satellite radio on heading out to BC for our vacation, and it just seemed like every song that was on, because Jody likes country music, but
Yeah.
everyone is so dreary. And I like a good ballad, and and there's many great artists out there but just so many of the ones out there right now are just kind of dreary, and it's like, but these have just that touch of edge that you have to it, and especially Easy to Love is kind of that big band sort of feel with it. You've got there's a little riff in there on the high strings. It's like a 50s kind of a riff that I just went, oh, is that ever a sweet touch to that? I thought that's super cool. And then the harmonies are off the charts. I mean, it's like this, the hair is standing up on my arms right now just talking
That's
about
awesome. Yeah, we got some girls I've worked with for years since the first Roadhammer record. Uh, Angela Prim and her friend Gail are incredible gospel singers, and they sang on that tune, and that's also featuring Joey Landreth from the Brothers Landreth playing that guitar that you're talking about. That's him featured on that track. I wrote that with Murray Pulver, who's and Jason McCoy actually. That was that when my daughter first heard that song, she said, "It sounds like church, Dad."
it.
And that's kind of what I was shooting for. I wanted it to 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 capture that moment of that feeling of being with somebody, and it's just so easy
I
to
think
be with that person.
right, and the when she says it sounded like church, I guess like there's that little tinge of big band. It's almost like that, BB King's band would come, and there's just there's bass, drum, guitar, BB sing, there's that, but there's all that little other stuff that just takes it just like that and puts it over the edge, right? It puts it over the top like that. So I don't know if it's big band or if it's just a kind of an orchestral sound or whatever it is, but it just works so great in that song. I love it.
Well, that gospel R&B blend is something I've always loved. Being a fan of bands who do that, like the Rolling Stones or the Black Crowes and that kind of thing. And that was really where we were taking that, with the horn section and the gospel singers and that beautiful 6/8 kind of swing it gets me every time. Thank you.
Yeah. Cold Shoulder, a little bit of a vocal range for Clayton on that one, huh?
Yeah, that was a lot of one thing that I've never again I was just this whole album was an operation in doing the opposite of what I've always done because I sing a lot when I'm at home and stuff in my falsetto range, but never record it, never you know um, do it publicly. And I was just like, this song just was written that way, and I'd never recorded it. So that was just the first time I've ever kind of gone up in that kind of head register before.
Kind of like a not Jim Keeler, but uh, from Blue Rodeo.
Oh, Jim Cuddy.
Jim Cuddy, yeah. Yeah, no, Greg Keeler. Yeah, not
Yeah.
I combine the two. Yeah, kind of a Jim Cuddy kind of thing with Try and that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of what I was shooting for when I wrote that song. That was I was kind of in the depths of a divorce at the time when that song came to life, and it just set it aside for a long time because I didn't think that I could at the time could really record the song, and wasn't it wasn't time for it, but it fits perfectly with this album, and it's a great sentiment.
With Ruin Me, it seems to me, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I get the kind of feeling that you're traveling a little bit down a Chris Stapleton kind of road. That feel with the music and everything that goes along with the vocals and everything all meshing together.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That's a great reference. And that I wrote that with Tara Lightfoot, who's an incredible artist in her own right, and just the whole idea of finding that somebody who just you know that you're wrecked if this ever goes away, you're ruined for life because of that thing that's so great. And that was the sentiment that we were shooting for in there, and yeah, definitely with the baritone guitar and stuff in there, it has those kind of Stapleton vibes.
The Baby LB, you want to talk about your daughter saying it sounds like church. I mean, the gospel in Baby LB is off the charts. It's so great.
I wrote that with Matt Anderson, who actually recorded it on a record of his about 10 years ago. Matt and I have been friends for ages, and have written and recorded a lot of songs together. And I just, after I heard that song, we finished that song. I've been playing it live for years and wanting to record a version of my own. And this was like the perfect opportunity to do that. Again, it's horn section and the gospel singers really bring it to life.
When I first saw Chris Stapleton, like I know that Chris Stapleton has been doing stuff for years, writing songs for people for years, and in the Johnson brothers or whatever, like some of his other bands that we've become aware of or familiar with just because of Chris Stapleton radio on Sirius XM. But all of the incarnations that Chris had beforehand, I had never really been familiar with him until Tennessee Whiskey, which is not an original Chris Stapleton song, but when they performed that on the Music Awards show, when he played that with Justin Timberlake, I was just like, I'm not a big Justin Timberlake fan. I actually like Justin Timberlake for his acting. I love his stuff on Saturday Night Live. He's one of those guys that's not afraid to make fun of himself, right? So he's great that way. And even Chris Stapleton on Saturday Night Live was awesome in that manner as well. But when the two of those performers did Tennessee Whiskey on that music awards show, I was like, my head just completely exploded. And I remember Jody Sanchez, she goes, wow, I'm surprised you like this because you don't really like country. And I said, and she go, and then my son said, and you don't really like pop either. I said, well, that's not country or pop. That's soul.
Yeah.
That's soul, and that's kind of what I think in Chasing Midnight, the sixth song on the group that you sent me. You've just Clayton, I was there when your first record came out. I have it. It's in a box in my closet right now with your signature on it. So I've seen the development of Clayton Bellamy over the years through all of the stuff, through the trips down to Nashville, Memphis, Prince George, and Toronto, and all of those bands that you talked about in our first podcast, and then the Road Hammers, and then the congregation, and all of the things that are happening for you now, right up until this, like the growth and the continued growth, I think has been awesome to watch. It's been so entertaining for me, and I love it.
Thank you so much, man. That means the world coming from you. I know you hear a lot of music, and that means a lot. It's been just always trying to continue to, like you said, to grow and not just do the same thing over and over. That's really what the congregation was. It was an exercise, a 5-year exercise in, you know, relearning how to write songs, how to write rock and roll songs, like real rock and roll, heavy music, which ended up getting me all kinds of cuts with rock artists that I never thought I would get to write with. And recording with, and working with bands like the Trues and Big Sugar and all of these things, and just then taking that and bringing that back into country and roots music after doing the congregation. It gives you be able to take all those kind of flavors and mix them together again. And like I was saying, this whole album was an exercise in doing the opposite of what I've always done. Whether it was instead of going loud and singing really hard, I'm going to sing soft. I'm going to sing high. I'm going to, instead of putting big loud electric guitars, I'm going to put understated acoustics. There's still an energy to the songs, though. It's not like you said, it's not a sleepy record. But it has a different kind of energy to it. Getting that, like taking that risk, was interesting because I really sucked at it for a while, trying to write what would be considered a legitimate rock song that doesn't sound country, and doesn't have those kind of things in it. Took a long time, and I kind of had to forget everything that I knew and relearn. And it took a couple of years of working at it and writing with people and kind of sucking again. But it gave me so much once I got my wheels under me, to be able to write everything now. And it proved fruitful getting recorded and getting singles on rock radio, which kind of, when I first started, there was people in the industry where we were kind of like, well, like, what's he doing? Or why is he doing that? I felt typecast, to be honest. It felt like an actor who's like, why aren't you just playing the cop? Because you're really good at playing a cop. And it was kind of like that. It was like, why aren't you just writing country rock songs? Because you're really good at writing country rock songs. And it's like, yeah, but I want to be a great writer, period. And the only way I can do that is if I really continue to go back to the well and be in those positions where I don't know anything, and trying to learn from people who are better than me. And it proved very fruitful.
Reluctantly.
This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by Wendy Campbell, realtor at blackmorerealestate.ca, serving the greater Edmonton area, proudly Canadian and locally owned. Contact Wendy at blackmorerealestate.ca. That's WENDE at blackmorerealestate.ca. Why does she not have a Y in her name? I don't know why. It's none of my business, probably none of yours too. Wendy has over 20 years of home sales experience. She has extensive knowledge of the new and previously owned home market. She can help you out with a free market evaluation of your home. And if you're looking to buy your forever home, she's got all the resources to help you with that as well. Not to mention, she's a builder partner with Rowett Homes. Wendy at blackmorerealestate.ca. WENDE at blackmorerealestate.ca.
Reluctantly.
Hey, give me a minute to tell you about Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Suits and tuxedos. And you can find them right here in Edmonton. They're handmade suits, custom tuxedos, tailored essentials, suits starting at $1,188. You choose everything. The color, the fabric, even the stuff on the inside. You know, the little pokey pocket thing that sticks out. It's amazing. It's a terrific experience. You can go through and get something as fancy as a tuxedo, or you can start with outerwear, matching sets, tailored essentials. They even do shirts, trousers, vests, and they do amazing couture for women. CONXEPPT.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. Look your best.
Reluctantly.
Do you find yourself having like a personality disorder or complex when you come? Because when you're talking about the Congregation and then the Road Hammers and then the Legendary Life of Tom Petty, and now, you know, with a new record coming out, and there's always been the Clayton Bellamy solo sort of aspect of it. I mean, the Congregation is kind of like a rock and roll church. The Road Hammers is kind of like, hey, we're at the county fair for the mud drags, and you know, then the Tom Petty stuff. I would imagine doing the Tom Petty stuff with the amount of that you've learned from Tom Petty over the years that you've been doing it and being a fan. And of course, since we lost him, you find out more about him. There's a certain amount of maturity that comes with that just from his experience that you've been able to glean.
Yeah, I think it was a big influence on this record. You know, trying to do, you know, I didn't want to think about anything else but the music. I was really trying to put myself in the shoes of making a Wildflowers record. If I had an album that was on a shelf that I went, hey, what is this record going to be for Clayton Bellamy? It's my Wildflowers. You know, and because that album was I think that was my favorite record Tom ever made, and you know, that music was just it was just getting under my skin so much, playing it night after night, that and I was again, that, you know, talking about, you know, relearning how to write songs, just listening to that, and how the music never got in the way of the story, and which I thought was great. And it was also there's a real conversational way that Tom writes songs and sings, and just trying to get to that place where everything is. My mantra when I was recording and writing was, "You're trying too hard. Don't try too hard. You know, don't try and get in the way of everything or try and force anything. If the line's got to be conversational, just let it be. Don't try and change it because it has to be flowery or it has to be a certain thing."
I think the thing, and people who have seen The Legendary Life of Tom Petty as performed by Clayton Bellamy and band, shouldn't be confused. It's not an impersonation. It's a tribute to the life, the memory, the music, right? It's your interpretation of the music as well, right?
100%. Yeah, that's what I always try and stress to people is, it's, you know, this is an homage, more than a tribute. Like, I'm not dressing up like Tom and pretending to be him. It's an established artist I'm doing my rendition of Tom's songs. We do a lot of live versions, and I really worked hard with our team to create a concert like this. It feels like a show, top to bottom, and we're telling the story of Tom and the Heartbreakers, and we're playing the songs mostly in chronological order, but and a lot of it is just about capturing the energy of, like, if I went to I've been to Tom Petty shows, I know what they sound and look like, and I want to give people a real rock and roll show, and when they leave going, man, that was it wasn't an evening of watching somebody pretend to be someone they're not. It's just I give them all of the Clayton Bellamy I can give them playing those Tom Petty songs.
Which Tom Petty, well, it might be a hard decision, but which Tom Petty is the one Tom Petty song that you said to yourself, shit, I wish I'd have wrote that?
Oh, man. There's a long list. I think we were talking about it, the title track of the record, but Wildflowers, that song is so great. And the way he puts the lyrics together, you belong among the wildflowers, you belong in a ship out at sea. It just those lines it just gives me chills right now, and it just hits me right between the ribs. And it's like, man, why can't I just write it so simple like that and not get in the way? And that was really that's been the lifelong goal, to write songs like that. I think what song that surprisingly became one of my favorites doing that show was Southern Accents, which is, not a real popular song of Tom's. No, it wasn't a big smash hit, but that second record of his didn't really do a whole lot. But we do that song on the encore every night, and I sing it a cappella, and which is, again, something I've never done before. But we come out on stage, so you've seen the show, and singing that song, just the with no music and just the words, really drives home the kind of the longing that he had from losing his mother, and that time in his life when growing up in California, or in Florida. And it really is a strong song, one of my favorites now.
When Damn and the Torpedoes came out in 1979, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were a guest on Saturday Night Live, and that's the first time I ever saw Tom Petty or heard Tom Petty, and it was Don't Do Me Like That and Refugee. Those were the two songs that he played on the show that night. And I have been a Tom Petty fan ever since. And you just, I remember seeing him thinking, holy cow, this guy does not look like a rock star. Like, this guy needs a sandwich. and most of his band did too. Mike Campbell, man, I remember seeing that and just thinking, wow, I love this music. But look at these guys. Holy shit.
They were just kids, which blows my mind. I love the documentary story. They're talking about how they were blowing up in Europe before, and they would go play these huge venues, and they were sold out everywhere, and they'd come back to Canada, to America, and you couldn't fill a club. Nobody knew or cared who they were yet. And the one story about, I can't recall what the Howie, the bass, no, not the original bass player. I can't remember what his name is. Not Howie. They were traveling from Amsterdam to Germany to do a show, and the manager said, "Hey, make sure you don't have any drugs on you from Amsterdam left over, because we're crossing the border and we're going to get in trouble." So what does the bass player do? Is he had a big ball of hash, and instead of throwing it out, he just jammed it up under his teeth and went through customs. Well, of course, they got held up in customs for hours. So I don't know if he intended on taking it out of his mouth, but he ended up having to eat the whole thing. And then they went from there straight to, because they were laid over, they went straight to the studio to do this live studio performance on German television. You could see when they show the clips of it, his eyes are just glazed over, but never skipped a note. He just crushed it. But just, I guess, a testament to how good he can actually play.
Unbelievable. So how long has it been with the Roadhammers now, with you and Jason and Chris?
20 years this year.
I was going to say, I think it's 20 years.
Yeah.
You talk about being kids. I mean, I know you weren't kids, like in the sense of Tom Petty in 1979, or just I was watching something on Nirvana just before we started recording and seeing Dave Grohl and Noah Selleck, and I mean they were pretty young when Nevermind hit,
Yeah.
but I mean it's 20 years now with the Roadhammers. What how are things? How are things carrying on with you and Jason and Chris, the three stalwarts in the band, and the three personalities, the faces of the band? I mean, it doesn't seem. You just said there's new that you just finished a tour. There's a new record this year. I mean, you're just not stopping.
No, I think that the band is stronger and on a friendship basis than we've ever been. I think the weight of the legacy of this band has kind of started to settle on us, where it's like, yeah, this was really something magical, and that hasn't been beat. Still the highest selling Canadian country band in history, and we really are starting to kind of carry that now, and I think it's drawn us all closer together. And the music we're making, I couldn't be more proud of. This the last two songs here we put out. Till the Wheels Fall Off, with we had Ian Thornley play guitar on it, and Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man sing on it with us, and it was just so fun to make. And then we flipped right from that to a song called Stop the Bleeding, which is a very Rolling Stones kind of a slow song, like a very uh, what's the album, Exile on Main Street kind of sound.
Right.
Which so it being the elder statesman now kind of gives us a freedom to create the way we want to create, and it's been really exciting, and it's I couldn't see myself being in any other band.
Well, and that's the thing. You talk about 20 years. I mean, when you say 20 years of the Roadhammers, is that something that excites you, or is it something that makes your back hurt?
Yeah, depending on the day. No, but nowadays it mostly excites me. To get out and play with those guys who are some of my best friends, and still making music that's relevant, and now seeing generations of fans is wild. I was 28 when I joined the band, and now here we are, and creeping up on 50, and we're still rocking.
I think it's cool too because it hasn't turned into. It's not just nostalgia. It's not just playing the hits. You kind of coming out with new music still, so you've got something fresh, and it's not one of those things anymore, or it's not one of those things where, hey, here's something from our new album, and then everybody goes and gets a beer or takes a leak. It's because that's what how many times have we seen it? We're there to see our favorite band or one of our favorite bands, and you see them play all of these songs, and then all of a sudden they've got something from their new record.
Yeah, it's tough, and I never got it until now, but it is a challenge. But really just kind of just continue to again, don't stop. That's always been Jason's McCoy's thing. It's like if you stop, you know exactly what's going to happen. But if you keep going, anything could happen, and we do. We just, as long as we don't stop, we just keep creating and keep making stuff that we think is cool. People will latch onto it, and they have.
You've played all over the world now, and you've played all kinds of different size buildings. You've played to empty rooms. You've played to sold out stadiums and arenas and that. Why is the Performing Arts Center that holds 340 seats, why is that so important to you?
I think it's the most important room that I've ever played in. Thank you for asking that question. I when I started, there was a little theater in our town called the Lyle Victor Albert Center, and it was just a rundown little theater. It held 194 seats, and that's where I learned how to sing. I sang Johnny Be Good on stage, when I was 9 years old, and and I learned how to become a performer, and I had the opportunity to get out and try this thing called music, called performing. And if that hadn't have been there, I would not have been on this path. I would not have been surrounded by people who, we're all part-timers, but they loved the arts, and they kind of gathered around me and said, "Hey, you could do this too. Here's an opportunity. Go out and give it your best shot. And you can suck, and we're still going to cheer you on." And without that, I wouldn't be there. Mike Plume wouldn't be here. Brett Kissel wouldn't be here. All of those guys, and so many more performed on that stage. And when that theater was tore down, it really left a hole in our community. And I think having this new theater built is a legacy thing to help. I want to leave something for the next generation of great artists. Even if they're not a great artist, even if they're just a kid who needs to express themselves on a stage and find a place where they fit in, where they can be weird and they can be different, and they can, not be the sports kid, but they can be the nerdy arts kid if they want to be. And that I'm just so passionate about, that people, I get choked up about it, thinking about it, because they need a space, just like all those sports kids need a space to express themselves. And having that now is the most important thing I'll ever do in music, for sure.
I remember on our other podcast, you talked about going door to door raising funds. The people of the Lakeland, the businesses that supported the Strathcona Performing Arts Center it's phenomenal. In Bonnyville, an expanded area, all out there. And to some people, it might seem like a strange place to have a facility like that, because Bonnyville's not, it's not a Lethbridge or Red Deer or Fort Mac or what. I mean, Bonnyville is a relatively small town, but it's tight knit. It's close together. Everybody knows everybody, and the support. It became a rallying call. It brought everyone together, didn't it?
It really did. And this town, it's an anomaly for sure. Like what the businesses in this town do for fundraising is second to none. And we've had some great corporate sponsors, some and great support from on a federal and provincial level and municipal level. But you know the town alone, and the businesses and volunteers and people, donors, have raised almost $500,000 alone, just from the small businesses in this town, just from their support. So it's amazing what we've done together. And honestly, it's just the grace of God that we got it together. And I played a small part in being able to be the face of it all. But there's so many people behind, yourself included, but behind the scenes, that just work tirelessly to keep this theater running and to keep it moving forward and to get it, that have gotten it up to where it is now. So I can't thank them enough for believing in the dream as well.
I think I might already know the answer to this. But say in like 20 years from now, you're going to be almost 70. God willing, you're still out there on the stage performing the way that you do. But 20 years from now, some kid from Bonnyville walks onto that stage and discovers they're good for something. It's like you said, the kids that have sports, that there's facilities quite often and nobody bats an eye. But when it comes to the performing arts, it's a bit more of a struggle. So some kid 20 years from now walks onto a stage and discovers that he's good for something and ends up making a life in the arts. Is that more important to you than another hit record?
Absolutely. Yeah. And without hesitation, especially now as I've gotten older, and I've been able to see the other side of it. And that's to be able to do that and to give that gift to the next kid down the street, that will mean more than anything. And that will be there long after I'm gone. I keep joking. I keep saying that, when I'm gone, I'm going to haunt that place. But, that long after and I'm gone or I'm done playing music, that facility will still be, inspiring kids to to do cool things in the arts.
I don't know if chasing is the right word, because chasing seems like there's an element of desperation uh, involved. But to me, it seems like you're, and maybe it's just a desire for another exciting thing, or, not that you're leaving something behind, or that, whether it's finished or not that it's, you don't want to have anything to do with it, but you just seem like you just keep wanting to bite off another chunk and chew it up and spit it out. And there, look at that. Look at what what are you chasing now? I mean, I know you got the new record coming out here at the end of the week, August 28th. Is that going to be a Clayton Bellamy solo tour? Is it going to be soft cedars? Is it going to be bars? Is it going to be more Roadhammer stuff? I know you've got Legendary Life of Tom Petty shows coming up down in the States in the fall. What's next for you, man?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do like that. I like to be. I don't like to sit still for too long. So I love. Um, During the pandemic, I really I stopped. I had a real mindset change. I think a lot of people did, but uh, I sat down because I didn't know what I was going to do anymore in music, and if I could even continue to do it. But I sat down and really went, "What am I doing? What do I?" Because I always people, get in this thing of saying, "I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it in the music business." I'm like, "Well, what am I making exactly?" That was when I really kind of sat down with pen and paper and went, what do I want to do? And then I started just making a real list of the things I wanted to accomplish if I was going to to stay in the music business. And that's why I've been just knocking those things off. And this record and this subsequent tour is one of them. And where we've got so far 14 and looking to be closer to 20 shows across North America with the Legendary Life of Tom Petty. Starting in the fall, we're going to be playing the Nashville Symphony Theater, right in downtown, the heart of Nashville, which is really cool. We're actually going to be running a contest for people to win a pair of tickets to fly down to Nashville and see the show and hang out with us backstage. So that's going to be exciting. But with that, along with that tour and this new record, the record label is kind of quickly taking taking the forefront of my my brain power, helping run and get that up and running, with and being partners with my bros Jason and Dan and Craig. It's been really exciting to be on that side of the fence of the record business, and we just signed this really cool kid, Irvin Miller, who's he's like a soul. He looks like a 1970s cigarette commercial. Yeah, he's 23, and he's like that Tom Petty that you saw in the first time on Saturday Night Live. He looks like that. He's just lean and mean, and he sings like Al Green, and he plays guitar like Chris Stapleton, and he's just performs like you know James Brown. He's incredible, and I see so much of myself in him when I watch him play. But he's better than me. He's so good, and I couldn't be more excited to be a part of now getting to lift up his career and see where he's going to go. So he's going to be the first official outside release on Sky Song Records coming up here in the fall. Because we've released Dan Davidson music and the Road Hammers, and now myself on the label. But it's not just we didn't make this record label just so we could put out our own records. We really want it to be something it's discovering. It's for artists by artists, and we want to be building careers, and we're excited about that.
I'm looking forward to seeing it at the Gala and golf and hanging out with you and everybody else, Giz, JR, Danny Hooper. It's going to be such a great time. I hope you get up, sing a few of your new songs from the new record, because it'll be out by then. We're going to be September 4 at the Gala and September 5 at the golf. And this Friday, August 28th, is when your record comes out, Soft Kind of Loud. 7 new songs from Clayton Bellamy. And I can't wait to hang with you some more.
Yeah,
It's gonna
man, I'm
be
looking forward to it.
super fun.
It's going to be great. And again, thank you so much for all the years of support. And I can't wait to see you sink that $1 million hole in one.
This podcast is reluctantly sponsored by Timber-Built Homes. Timberbuilthomes.ca, where you can find out all you need to know about a home in a box. Also thanks to Concept Clothing and Culture, CONXEPPT.com. Men's and women's fashion, handmade, custom to you. And a big thanks to my real estate agent, Wendy Campbell. Wendy, WENDE, at blackmorerealestate.ca.